Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Mackintac here, and welcome to the second episode, whatever you want to call it, of my Mechanics Masterclass. In this episode, we will be going over micro and some micro mechanics, such as concave, splitting, strafe dropping at some point. There is the hold position micro, setting up your control groups, multi-prong, spellcaster usage. We're going to be going over a lot of stuff, basically, and hope you guys learned some from it. Just wanted to say before we get into it, by the way, I am on the crash of caffeine pretty hardcore because I have streamed today, and I had some really, really powerful coffee. So please, if I do stumble over my words, go easy on me. And lastly, I just want to say, if you guys give me enough feedback, and maybe if I miss some stuff that you want me to throw in, I will redo this video and re-upload it. So I just want to make sure I do a better video. So if you guys do have some feedback for me, leave it in the comments below, and I will do my best to improve for you guys to get a better product out there for you beginners. So, alright, enjoy the video. See ya. Okay, so the first thing that we'll be going through here is control groups. So control groups are very useful tools for managing your army mainly, as well as your production. I won't really be going over the production bit too much in this video, but more so we'll be focusing on control groups, what to put in them, and how to add and remove stuff from them. So, what is a control group, first of all? A control group is these numbered boxes at the bottom here. So they're default set to 1 through 0 on your keyboard above your letters, not your numpad. And you can add units to them in order to more precisely and effectively manage your army a lot of the time. This is very different from the all army hotkey, which just selects all units that you have. This way we can separate our units into different categories, such as spellcasters, which I usually put on 1, main army, which I usually put on 3, and then my second army, my queens, a run by on 2, another run by or some other units on 4, stuff like that. You can divide it into different parts of your army that you want to control differently than the other parts. Like, I don't want to be selecting all of my units here, putting them in the same control group, and then moving. I don't want to be doing this, because the Vipers will just fly over without attacking, and then they'll die. They're expensive, so if they die, you lose a lot of money. Spellcasters for Zerg don't have any attacks. So they just, when you send an attack move, instead of the units getting, like normally, units would attack hostile units that are within the range. So normally, that's what would happen. But since these Vipers do not have an attack, they simply just fly past. This could be very dangerous if you're in like a big fight and the opponent has a bunch of like Marines behind their Marauders and whatnot. And you have some Vipers, and you're like moving with your whole army, and then your Vipers just like get sent over there and they all die, and then you don't have any blinding clouds for siege tanks or something like that. That's why the all army hotkey isn't that great. And that's why it's good to separate your control groups. Oop, pause. Oops. Nope. Like this. So, in order to create a control group, you press control and then the number. We just create a control group with 10 roaches and 10 zerglings. Cool. If we want to add a unit to a control group, we can select the unit, shift, and then the control group number as well. So now, whenever we select that number again for the control group, we have the Viper added to it. Cool. Just add these two, shift 3, and now we have 3 Vipers added. So whenever I press 3, I have this little task force here. Cool. If we want to remove units from a control group, there are several ways of doing so. Firstly, you can just remove them by shift clicking, or a shift click removes one unit. If you want to shift click, or if you want to remove a whole type of unit, you can control shift click to remove from there. And then once you made the changes that you wanted, you remove the units that you didn't want in it anymore, you can remake the control group by pressing control again, and then the same number. So now whenever we press 3, we don't have any of the Zerglings in there. Now a quicker way of doing that, something that you won't do every time, but another way of doing it is by steal hotkeying. So the steal hotkey is Alt by default. And what that does is it removes the units from any hotkey that they're in. Any hotkey that they're in. So if they're in several, like if I put these Zerglings in with, let's just make another control group for the Vipers. So if I put these Zerglings in the same control group as the Vipers, and they're also in the main army, but I want them off of it, well, I can press Alt and then another number like 4. So that removes the 10 Zerglings from the main army control group, as well as the Viper control group. So we can see they're not in there at all. No matter how many times I go through, they're not going to be in there. That's a really quick way of like setting up run-bys, removing Baneling cocoons from your Zergling control group when you're doing a very intense Ling Bane micro against another Zerg. Removing workers that get caught up in your control groups by accident, just stuff like that. It's a very, very easy way of doing that, the steel hotkey. If you want to kind of do the same type of thing, instead of removing all types of units from here and you just want to select all types of unit, you can just control click. Just like when you control click here on any unit, it selects all of the same type of unit. So I want to select all the Zerglings. I can double click, or I can just control click. And then it automatically selects all units that you can see on your screen of the same type of the unit that you clicked. Cool. Awesome. Very simple stuff. Once you get used to doing that, you can set up stuff really quickly. Like if I'm just running around the map, moving my army, I'm just tabbing between the... Not tabbing, sorry. I'm going between the 2 control groups that I have set up right now. If I want to like set up a run by, then I can just control click these Zerglings, Alt, and then 4 to separate them, and then send them on like a run by or send them to clean up a pylon or something somewhere, for example. So let's just do that quicker. Yeah, we're running around. We're going on the map. Cool. Well, boom. We have a run by being set up. Oh, actually, I mispressed that. Let's do it again. So we're running around. Cool. Separated. They're not in either of my main control groups anymore. And they're sent somewhere else on the map in their own control group. Yeah. So once again, the steel hotkey takes units from a control group and creates a new one. Overwrites any existing for any existing units for the control group that you press. So like if I steel hotkey these Zerglings to 3, which is my roach hotkey or control group, then it will just overwrite it. By the way, I don't think I mentioned that to start with, but that is a very important detail. Anyways, okay. So that's control groups, a brief overview of them. You don't really need to know too much because it's mostly just setting up your control groups in a way that's most comfortable to you. I'd advised having a separate control group for spellcasters. That's a must. Also for like run-bys or whatnot. And some units actually have different priority than others. Like having Ravagers and Lurkers or Ravagers and Queens on the same control group or selection in general makes it very difficult to micro them if you're not used to tab microing, which is something that you can do that is more advanced. It takes a lot of time to get used to, I guess I could say. I don't personally tab micro, but I think that you should maybe. But you can also make it so you don't really have to tab micro. It's just more efficient to micro in some other ways. So if we have Ravagers and Queens on the same control group, well, Ravagers have a spell called Corrosive Bile. I'll actually set that up right now. So we get some Ravagers. Where are they? Where are the biggie? And we have some Queens. So if they're on the same control group, right here we can see, or same selection in general, we can see that there are 2 different types of green squares surrounding these, and the ones with the Queen are lit up more. That means that is the unit that is going to be showing up on the command card here. So if I want to use Corrosive Biles from the Ravagers, but I select Queens and Ravagers in whatever way to select them, and I press C, well, Corrosive Bile won't show up. Instead, Spawn Creep Tumor will. So in order to bypass that while still having the queen selected, you have to press tab in order to reselect here. And then you can do that. That's why you don't normally want to have Ravagers and Queens, or Queens and Lurkers, or Ravagers and Lurkers, units that have conflicting priority on the same control group, because that just makes it much more difficult to manage everything. I usually have my Queens on number 2 in my main army, which is my Ravagers on 3, just to avoid this type of thing, this miscontrol potential. So if I want to Corrosive Bile, I can do that. If I want to transfuse, let's hurt you. If I want to Corrosive Bile, I do the Corrosive Biles. If I want to transfuse, I just switch them, and then I do that. And then I spread creep, whatever I want to do. Okay, I think I dragged on a bit too long there, so let's move on to the next bit, which I think is going to be Stutter Stepping. So this next bit we'll just fly over. It's just Stutter Stepping, a very simple way of microing. The idea is you just move away or towards an opponent, and move command, and then attack move over and over again. So we'll demonstrate this here with these Marines and these medevacs here. The idea with this type of micro is to kind of just move away while still doing maximum damage. And in some cases you can just reduce the amount of damage your opponent's doing through like surface area with melee units. But sometimes this won't actually work the same if you're playing against ranged units. At that point, you're just trying to still output a lot of damage while running away. Or chasing down an opponent, as I said before. So, let's get the Lings attacking here. 40 Zerglings versus 16 Marines with 2 medevacs. So, we just move command and attack move. So we can do this to get to like a safe spot like this. Oh, we want these to be healing. Whoops. A little bit of a mistake by me. I don't really control Terran units, so that's a little bit of a misstep. So we just saw that we ran away while still doing a lot of damage. Once again, we can also just keep doing that by reducing the amount of damage, or if we just keep doing this, we're also reducing the amount of damage that the Zerg can do, these melee units, because they're not being able to target all of our Marines at once, I guess. They're not able to get a full surround because we constantly are moving. I could have microed this a lot better. I just got all the timings messed up. Oh no, that's a bit embarrassing. I could have killed all these Zerglings. Shoot. Well, we just proved how bad I am. I'm a Grandmaster Zerg, not a Grandmaster Terran. I'm actually just bad at micro. So, anyways, that's just the idea of Stutter Step. If you want to, let's do another example actually real quick. So let's get rid of all these Zerglings. And let's get a bunch of mutas. Let's get these mutas running around. Say the mutas are running away from the Terran units, but you want to chase them down, so you can Stutter Step and you can chase them like this. They're running away. Stutter Step and chase. That way, that usually allows you to pick off a few extra units, which really adds up sometimes. Or even allows you to kill every unit, depending on how quick your units are compared to theirs. Very good for picking off spellcasters like Vipers. Very good for picking off mutas. Just any unit that's running away that you want to try and do extra damage to and maybe kill. Stutter Stepping's good for that. So, nice. Heck yeah. Next part. Concaves. Okay, so concaves are also a pretty common sort of micro technique that people would do in basically every fight. You want to try and set up something like this. Kind of just like getting a small crescent going, or even a larger crescent with if you have more units. In order to make it so more units of yours are attacking than his units are. Or more of your units are attacking than his are. I don't know. I'm bad at English. I'm Pepega brain. Basically, we just want more of our units to be attacking, and we want as many of his units attacking, or not attacking as possible. But we want to still maintain a lot of damage, I guess. Wow, I just died there mentally. So, let me pause here. So what we're looking at is a concave for us. We have an arc, And we have, since we have this arc, a lot more units attacking than he has. That's what I was trying to say, but my brain was dying there for some reason. So we have like maybe even 20 units attacking here. I don't know, at least 10. At least 16. And he has only 7, I guess. Because we have a lot more surface area available to us. His units are stuck in the back, not able to attack. This is very good in cases of defending chokes, like a ramp, for example. You could just do this in open ground as well, or if someone's attacking into a base or something like that. You usually want to do something like this in order to just trade much more efficiently than the opponent. This is a concave, this is a convex. You do not want this, but you do want this. Very simple. Cool. Awesome. Let's reset. Now, there are ways to counter that sort of thing if you need to go up a ramp. So, let's show what that sort of thing could be. So let's set up our concave for the bottom side here, and let's go in with these. Now, this is just brute forcing your way in. This is stutter stepping towards your opponent. I didn't mention this before, but let's set this up and set these. So we just attack, move, and move command. So we get all of our units attacking here. We get in range with all of our units. Get closer. The idea is just to make sure as many units of ours are attacking as possible. So we're not gonna. Oh, whoops. We're not gonna trade perfectly because these are the same amounts of units. So trades are probably not gonna go nearly as well. However, we're going to trade much more efficiently than if we just A-move and just try and win a fight as a convex against a concave with the same types of units, the same upgrades, and the same number. Usually you do that, like, kind of force your way in, the brute force thing, with more units or just better units. But usually the idea is that, or usually you just don't want to do it. You don't want to fight into a concave if you can avoid it. Unless you're just so far ahead. So far ahead. Okay, cool. Went through concave. The next, we'll go over hold position micro. Specifically with mutalisks, so I'll be right back. Alright, so hold position micro. Hold position micro is sometimes pretty useful when it comes to getting some damage done without losing all of your units. The example I'm going to use here is going to be some mutalisks with killing some workers, but there's some bad, evil missile turrets nearby that we don't want to go near. However, as you see, if we attack move, no matter what happens, if this turret draws aggro, then our mutalisks will run over here and attack the turrets. Sure, they'll win the fight, but that also gives the SCVs time to run away towards like a bioforce of a bunch of Marines coming in to help defend. And then these SCVs survive. So, how do we kill these workers? Or more workers than we normally would? Well, we could target fire. Or, well, let's get these to mining. We could do hold position micro. That's when you get the units, and instead of stutter stepping with move key and then attack move, we just go over the units and press hold position. So let's stay away from the scary ones. Staying in range of the small ones, or staying out of range of these big four. Hold position so they don't run into enemies. Then we kill all those, and then we just get out. This is useful when it comes to killing stuff in a Terran Sim City. If there's like Marines running towards you and you want to like kill some marauders or something popping out, siege tanks, workers, just buildings in general, and you don't want your mutalisks running towards a Thor or Marines, mines, whatever. You would do hold position micro so they don't just ape into the opposing forces. I do this every single time I control my mutas because it's just a nice way of getting some damage done without having your mutas split up and attacking and dying, basically. Because mutas are meant to be like a harassment unit anyways, so. That's a brief overview of hold position micro. Let's move on to the magic box. Okay, and speaking of muta micro, the magic box. This is really good against area of effect dealing or damaging attacks such as the Thor's anti-air or the Archon's normal attack. So we have these 4 Thors here and these 20 mutas once again. So let's just send our mutas on an attack move, or just like have these going in. And the mutas attack moving, and we'll see how much they clump up and just die. Just die to Thors. So you'd see 4 Thors and you'd see 20 mutas, and automatically you might think that there's no way these mutas can beat these Thors. 3 of them survived. Like, this was so one-sided. How could we beat these Thors with our 20 mutas? So, this is the magic box. Let's have these Thors coming in. Actually, in a second, I'll show you guys how to do this. So what you do to magic box is you let your mutas get spread out without controlling them at all. You just stop command them, and then they'll spread out pretty naturally. Once you have this, you box them like that, and then you move command them, and then do like hold position micro or attack move micro. Only you would only do attack move micro if there are no other units around that would take aggro, by the way. So let's get these Thors on their attack move. Select the mutas, and then move command, and then attack move. So we can see that even though Thors do good AoE, they're not doing AoE to any mutas. This is the magic box, the power of the magic box. No AoE damage is being done until they start moving in a little bit. If they're perfectly spread, like they default to, then you can not take any extra splash damage. And that's how you can beat Thors with mutas. You just magic box. So before we saw that the Thors won with 3 Thors, and then now it's like, okay, let's stop and set it up. Okay, we select these. Now we see that the mutas actually end up winning. Pretty decisively, too. No additional micro required. You just do this, and then you're fine. Note, this does not work against Widow Mines, I don't think. I'm not too sure. I could test it, but I don't want to take up too much time with this. Anyways, next part, that's really good. Okay, so pullback micro. That's when you get into a fight. So let's just attack here. And when a unit is getting hurt, you just pull it back away from aggro, and then send it back in. That way, the unit doesn't die, and it can still come back and continue doing damage. Very common thing that you see happen in smaller fights to gain a small advantage, because sometimes it can actually like change the outcome of that, like it happened here. I mean, I'll even just reset it and just send the units out like this. Oh, want to pull these units back? Cool. You can do pullback micro like that. You can also do this. It's kind of like the same thing as Blink Stalker micro, which we'll go over. I mean, I kind of did it pretty poorly there. You only want to do it when the unit is about to die, really. But we can see just how much that sort of thing changes the fight, the outcome of the fight. It was 10 versus 10, and now I survive with 5. Nice. Very, very small thing on pullback micro. Again, the idea is, well, let's reset it. When they go in, the units that are taking a lot of damage, you pull back, so then the AI auto-targets 2 other units instead. So, this one's about to die, pull back. You don't have to pull back too far, you just need to get them to attack other units. I did mess up here by pulling back a lot, but that was just, it's a whatever, you know. So, the unit doesn't die, and it can still come back and get a few extra shots in, keeping your total damage done higher than it would otherwise have been. Nice. Next part, Ling Bane Micro with a Steel Hotkey. Just an example of that real quick. Real quick, I just wanted to show you another example of pullback micro, which is Blink Stalkers versus Blink Stalkers. Well, let's just do this here. So, if we just blink back the Stalkers, the ones that are getting hit, before they die... Oh, whoops, that was bad. Then we can see that the fight drastically changes in our favor. We have all these Stalkers surviving that attack. It's kind of like just doing it with roaches, except it's instantaneous. So, just a quick example there. Alright, next part is splitting. So I did mention this in the first video. Oh, wait. Let's get Baneling speed. So splitting is another sort of micro that you do in order to reduce the effectiveness of area of effect attacks and abilities, such as Disruptor Shots, Psionic Storm, Banelings, also EMP I guess counts, Siege Tanks, anything that's AoE I guess. So I'll give an example of what would happen if you don't split. Oh. Shit. Damn. That's pretty one-sided for the Zerg, right? Well, let's see what happens when we do split. So splitting, the idea is you just split your army into smaller chunks. You just pull away pieces. And then just makes it so then the AoE can do little damage. This is called a pre-split. I'm pretty bad at splitting. I don't really do it too often. When I do, it's like pretty rare cases because I'm Zerg. But now, if the Zerg or the Banelings go in, well, they can't really get much value, can they? Terran players practice this type of stuff a lot, which is why Terran Micro seems very impressive. It is very impressive a lot of the time. So now let's do like a more common way of seeing splits done. So the Banelings are coming in. So you're just actively splitting little chunks away. Oh no, my splits were actually pretty bad. All Terran players who are watching this video are cringing right now. This is the micro of a Grandmaster Zerg player. We can see much, much better results. Now, I think since you're off creep anyways, you can take some pretty good fights against Banelings by just doing this. You can just like keep kiting. But sometimes splitting is just the better thing to do. I'm attacking at the wrong times anyways. You could have actually killed all of these Banelings without losing a single Marine, but I'm not going to stress myself too much. Fuck it. Alright, so this next bit's just going to be around the idea of setting up a flank, kind of like setting up a multi-prong. That's when you set up another group of units at another angle of attack to go in at the same time as your other units. It's kind of like setting up a surround. Zerg is the A-move race. I will fully admit from my experience that Zerg is more A-movie than the other races, except maybe carriers and Protoss. But we have to worry more about positioning if we want to trade efficiently. We want to be setting up these multiple angles of attack in order to take good trades. So, actually, let's just show what happens if we just A-move this, okay? We're only attacking from one angle. We can see what happens here. Set this up properly. So, send in the Ling Bane. And we just run away with everything here. Somewhere to run. And then I can just like do whatever against the few units that get through all these Widow Mines. So, Terran has somewhere to run to. Let's see what happens if we set up the flank. Alright, just grab a few units. Not even that much. Just a few. Send them all the way around. Something you can do really quickly in a game when you're being harassed by a Terran player, but you know you're not going to trade efficiently if you just A-move into his army. Setting up a flank like this is really good because he can't really run. Watch. So we have all of our units now. So we can see on the mini map here. Move my camera back to the right side. We can see on the mini map here that we have units on both sides. Can even, if we want it to look better, we can just like split up our units a bit. Cover more ground. Wow. Such a great setup for a fight here. I'd be very, very happy with this against this. And just A-move into the middle. Where does the Terran run to? Maybe he runs upwards. I don't know. But this full surround, it's just better. It's just better. One more time. Let's set up a true full surround. Okay. So shift click all these around. Some units down to here as well. A few up to here and here. We have this army in the center. Now we saw what happens if we just attack from one angle. What happens if we attack from all angles? So, a little split, a little bit of setup. We can see on the mini map that we're basically everywhere. And let me just select the Terran units so I can stim them. Let's just attack, move to the center here. Where does the Terran run to? He can't run upwards because there's a surround. He's dead. And then we just trade super efficiently. We don't have an overlord or overseer, so we can't clear up these Widow Mines, but we would have killed the whole army there unless he loaded up, which is something that Terrans can do pretty often with medevacs, and they will do. But most of the time, regardless, you will take a really good trade. Taking these full surrounds, these setting up these flanks, is a way to make an otherwise very scary Terran position easily crumble. Very useful against siege tanks. Very good against Widow Mines. Because when you do these types of setups, it reduces the effectiveness of AoE as well. It's really good against Liberators too, because Liberators can only attack one area, and they usually set up the Liberation Zone in front of them. But if you attack from the back, it's kind of like hitting the underbelly. Like, they don't really have as many defenses there. Terrans also usually leave Marauders in front of their army. So if you attack from behind with Banelings, they don't got a chance. They don't got a chance, all right? Anyways, that was that was setting up a surround / flank. Very simple to do. Just do some shift Qs like that, movement commands, and then you just select all your units and A move. It's very, very simple to do. Widow Mines are pretty good though. Next part. Okay, so this second last bit here is focused on just spellcaster usage, and I'm going to show you guys a few scenarios where spellcasters are more commonly used. So, the first one here is against a Mech Terran army with Lurker Hydra Viper. Doesn't have to be Lurker Hydra Viper. Oh, whoops. Could be Lurkers with whatever, or Vipers with whatever. But the best synergy, in my opinion, is Lurker Hydra Viper here. So, we see siege tanks as a pretty difficult unit to deal with sometimes. They're really good at creating an entranced position. So, one of the ways Zerg has of dealing with them is the Viper. And I don't know why I don't have any energy, but we have an ability with the Viper called the Abduct. And how I want to do this here, instead of move commanding over here and then abducting as I get there, I want to put my units right here and then shift command without any other commands going on. Abduct with an abduct. Oh, whoops. I actually messed that up a bit. Let's reset that real quick. Oh, whoa. This is not the one I wanted. Load this one. Hold up. Sorry. Okay, there we go. This way I start with full energy. So now we have the Lurker Hydra Viper and we have the Vipers. Cool. Burrow. Set up the siege tanks. Oh. Set up the Thors. Bring these back. Okay. This is kind of messy to start with. But we get our Vipers right here. Blinding Cloud where we are going to pull them to. So probably right here. And then we shift command Blinding Clouds. Then shift command back the Vipers. Okay, so Blinding Cloud, and then just shift command back the Vipers. That was out in hold position by accident. Because if you don't shift command or send the Vipers back, then there's a chance that they can take a lot of extra damage from the Thors if they decide to move forward a bit and you're not paying attention. It's good to not have your spellcasters in general near the front lines. You want to have them a bit defended, and when you want to actually use them, that's when you bring them forward and then you do whatever. Now, let's just reset this real quick so we get full energy and full health. I'm going to show you, because I get this question actually quite a lot, how do I beat Mass Thor? A lot of people are like, hey, Thors aren't good against Vipers, or no, Vipers aren't good against Thors because Vipers just instantly die. And yeah, you're right. Vipers are pretty bad. They die really quickly. Just a few seconds and they're dead. But if you do this simple technique, we can kill Thors with Vipers. So, we get them into their ranged mode. We get our dudes here. We Blinding Cloud. Right before we go in, we toss a Blinding Cloud in. And then that allows us to get more Blinding Clouds in. And then we can do this. Then Blinding Cloud on the ground. We lost one Viper, but we killed so many Thors. Cool. The main reason that works is because Abduct actually outranges, not Abduct. Blinding Cloud actually outranges Thor range. So Blinding Cloud and Thor attack with the high impact payload actually have the same range, but that counts for Blinding Cloud as the exact middle of this circle here. So the range actually goes up to 11 plus the radius. So like the very edge of this circle here is also part of the range, and it goes over 11. So as you can see, if I were to just Blinding Cloud the edges, won't take any damage. I'll be able to get these units, these two Thors here, Blinding Clouded, and then from there on, I can go like, a few more Blinding Clouds, and then I can like do whatever. Abduct these Thors, basically guarantee some kills here. Now, the question is, to abduct or not? To abduct or Blinding Cloud? Well, let me answer that question here. Both spells are pretty good for their own situations, but which one to do? Well, you do Blinding Clouds basically if the enemy has a lot of clumped up units, and you do Abducts if you want to play it more slowly and pick off their armies slowly but surely. Like if I want to fight this army, and he's all clumped up like this, right? He's super clumped up here, and I want to fight this army. Well, then I would just Blinding Clouds and then go in. Cool. He was really clumped up, so Blinding Clouds are kind of able to work. He actually doesn't have a detector, so he can't see the lurkers, but I guarantee you this fight would still go pretty well for the Zerg. Now, the normal thing is just to take it slow and slowly pick off his units with some Abducts mixed with some Blinding Clouds against Thors if you need to. And Blinding Clouds here. Like, this little spot for Blinding Clouds, by the way, is very useful because after units are abducted, they can still attack. And you don't want them to attack. That's basically it. So that's why this circle here is very, very helpful, because they can't get any extra damage off on your army. Okay, next situation. Let's forget about that. Let's open up the unit tester here. Load, so we get maximum energy. And we're going to show infestor usage, basic infestor usage. Without using the infestors, let's just see how this fight would go. This is Terran Bio with some Marauders and Marines. I'm not controlling anything except for just stimming to start it with. Alright, so we can see this fight is pretty one-sided in favor of the Terran. Let me show you what Fungal Growth from the Infestor can do. Okay, so let's separate our armies here. Let's not control this part. Send this in, send a stim. But let's throw some fungals in. Keep our infestors back behind our army, because we don't want them to take any extra damage. And then just keep throwing fungals. Fungal's really good for making it so enemy units can't run away, just like these boosted medevacs. It's good for applying a lot of damage over time to a big area. Not as much as a storm does, but it can be used in kind of like some of the same situations as a storm would be. And it makes it so the enemies can't blink away or be picked up. So he couldn't really run away that fight either, because the Fungal Growth kept him there. Can't be picked up, your movement speed is slowed, and you take damage. Fungal Growth is really good there. Now, there's also some situations where you can synergize Fungal Growth with other things, like Corrosive Biles from Ravagers. We'll just wait for these to finish, and then we'll get a little fight going here with these Corrosive Biles. So, Terran Army stimming in. We're going in here. Fungals, Corrosive Biles, and they can't really run away that easily. Oh, whoops. I messed that up. Whatever. There could be some nice synergy between Fungal Growth and Corrosive Bile. I'll just actually do this. So he's stimming away, but he can barely move. This is really good for picking off units like air units. So a lot of Void Rays, for example, if you only have Ravagers and Fungal, you can do that. Killing Medivacs it's really nice. Killing just units in general, it's really nice for that. While we're actually on this, let me show you how to set up a thing called a rapid fire hotkey here. How I use this really quickly without clicking is through the usage of rapid fire hotkeys. All you need to do is go to your menu, go to options, hotkeys, global, unit management, go down to choose ability or AI target, and it will say add alternate hotkey. You put the C key or the same key as your Corrosive Bile would be. Mine is default on C. You can also see I have extra keys here. You can add more keys in the hotkey.txt file in your documents, but I'm not going to show you guys how to do that. That's just a quick way of going through. So that changes it from you having to like click all of your Corrosive Biles to you just being able to hold down C and then shoot all of them really quickly in one spot. Cool. All right, I think 2 more situations, and then we are basically finished. Oh, yes. So the Infestor. Not the greatest unit anymore, but still pretty good. I don't know why I have it set up with these units, but another ability it has, which is very, very good against Thor-heavy compositions, is something called Neural Parasite, which basically takes control of the enemy units and then makes it your own for a small duration. So let's just test that out. It's really good for getting in range with siege tanks or just taking care of Thors. So let's just set up these siege tanks. Oh, whoops. I forget he has total vision of me. So let's take those units there. So these are now mine for a bit. Allows us to get in range, and we can just like do whatever. Cool. And then once it expires, we can also just retake the units. Sometimes it can allow us to get into range, or when you're playing against just Thor compositions, you can take all of the front Thors, so he actually can't like come kill your infestors or your army at all. He has to break through his own Thors in order to get by. I don't know why I chose this composition to show it with. This is actually kind of not the brightest by me. And I'll just go through the final thing here. So we actually got to go into here, load. It's just the usage of these cool dudes, the Vipers, against a standard Bioforce. We saw the Fungal was pretty good at doing damage. Let's see what we can do with the Vipers. So Vipers in this situation have 2 uses. One is to kill Medivacs, and the second is to make it harder for him to micro his army and get like a concave or whatnot. So let's have them stim into me. Let's attack in there. Blinding Cloud, Blinding Cloud, Blinding Cloud, Parasitic Bomb. Then we can like Blinding Cloud again. Blinding Cloud. And if we had enough energy for another Parasitic Bomb, we'd do it. But the thing is, whenever they travel through Blinding Clouds, they can't attack, and they have to run into melee range of your army. It's not as effective as Fungal Growth in this situation, but if you only have Vipers because you're expecting to have to abduct siege tanks or liberators, then this could be another thing that you do here. It's also again really good at killing Medivacs or air units in large numbers. That's all I'm going to really go over with Spellcasters. I did show you a few fancy ways of microing Vipers. Infestors aren't really that great right now, but they do shine in some situations. So, I could... The idea is with also controlling your spellcasters, you want to keep them behind. I did go over this briefly. Terrans, their spellcaster, the Ghost, actually has an attack, so it doesn't go in. It doesn't, like, run in without attacking, like I showed in the beginning of this video. And the Infestors also do not have an attack, so they act the same as the Viper would. And the High Templar also has an attack, so it doesn't just run in, so I don't really need to show you guys how to control those. They're kind of like idiot-proof units, I guess you could say. So the last thing I'm going to show you here is the Strafe Drop. This is pretty common to use when you're using a transport unit, such as the Medevac, the War Prism, or the Overlord. So what you basically do is you just move the unit around, and instead of pressing drop on a location like this, to drop all your units slowly... Wait, what's happening there? That's actually a weird bug. Well, that's so weird. Okay, this is actually a bug with this. That's actually really cool that we found that. So you move around, and you start pressing drop on the floor. Press it on the medevac you're using. So you can still move while dropping units. Wow, that's so weird. This is very useful when it comes to dealing damage to mineral lines. So you can do this with banelings as well. But like, let's say there's like a spore crawler and a queen here and some zerglings. You just like boost past, and then, oh, whoops, wrong button. And you just drop. This can also be used against like a bunch of sentries. So let's demonstrate that for the Zerg. Overlord. Get some banelings in this. Let's say Protoss has a bunch of High Templar and sentries. Let's make it a nice, cool thing. So let's transform these into transport overlords. All these weak units right here, light units, all clumped together. I've done this in a few games myself, where it's actually like changed the whole outcome of the game. So he force fields all around. You're not getting in from the front there. You can just bypass the defenses with this, and you could just strafe drop on top of his units. Kind of follow him around if he tries to run away with that as well. This isn't that useful in fights anymore, except like sometimes with Hellbats, mines, Marauders. Sometimes when you're trying to pick off some banelings from an enemy that's running away, you can like strafe drop Marauders and chase them. But it's something that you guys should know. It's just a nice thing here. And I think that covers a lot of the stuff that I can go over. I can't think of anything else right now, but if you guys do have anything that I'm missing, let me know in the comments below, and I'll make a little example and I'll show you guys it. So yeah, cool. This is in the unit tester, by the way. Check it out.